Having someone to talk to, well, that's a gift. Having that special someone you can vent your frustrations to and share some of your innermost thoughts and your deepest tragedies, well, at times that can be a lifeline. When you share your story with someone, you are sharing yourself. And that is always a good thing, right? Right? Yes and no. Talking, well, that's a good thing. Communication, well, that's even better. And the one thing we often do as survivalists in our trauma is we talk. We talk and we talk and we talk. We talk about our abusers. We talk about the abuse done to us. And we talk about our feelings and the things that happened against us. It's important for all of us to share by talking our stories out. But never do we realize that we are possibly oversharing and causing more harm than good in our healing process. Finding someone relatable to our pain, well, that's tough. But when we find it, we don't want to let go of that now, do we? We keep that common ground alive by sharing and contributing to the relationship, by opening ourselves up to pain, by sharing the burden of that pain, by making ourselves vulnerable even against our better judgment. And we do this without even realizing that maybe, just maybe, that person that we're sharing that information with, they just don't want to hear what we have to say anymore. Ouch. Yeah, that ouch kind of goes a long way deep, doesn't it? Yeah, been there. It's a good thing to share your trauma. And we do this because in that current moment of sharing, we are then identifying with our trauma, because trauma is a part of who we are. So why not share? Getting to know someone is all about them getting to know us, and sharing our story with them reveals to the other person, hey, this is who I am. Take me or leave me. If that person we tell our stories to, if they decide to accept us, accept what we have to say, and they believe us, then we not only have a sympathetic and empathetic ear, we also have an ally. We have someone who will fight for our survival. But how? Well, all of this is just a subconscious routine that plays in our heads and is on autopilot. We're not thinking about this. We are defenseless at the time of when the trauma happened. But now that we have someone backing us who can help, we internally believe wholeheartedly that they will help. But how? Well, that's anyone's best guess. All we know is that by telling them our story, the pain inside of us will somehow be alleviated, because their listening ear allows us to believe momentarily in ourselves. Those who listen help us to feel worthy again. The truth is, we are stuck in the past with our trauma. Sharing with others cannot bring them into the past with us. If we can feel worthy now, in this moment, then somehow, some way, that worthiness can go back into our past and undo all the physical and emotional torment, right? Well, again, this is all unconscious or subconscious thought, my friends. And this is something our subconscious leads us into. That if telling our story with the people that we trust, then somehow that will alleviate the burden that we have no choice to bear. Somehow, through their acceptance of us, we might be able to find acceptance from the ones who traumatized us. And that means we just might be able to find acceptance from ourselves. This unfortunately never happens. Hello, my name is Shannon Gilmore, and I am your spiritual health and wellness private eye, helping you to find hope and healing through godly insight, direction, and intervention. I break down your healing journey by helping you to see what is emotionally in service to you and what isn't. I am a Christian author, I am a Christian counselor, and I know something about trauma dumping. It's what I used to do. I didn't know that this was actually a thing until I was asked on Quora today, as someone was accused of trauma dumping. So in this video, I'd like us to explore the term trauma dumping. What is it exactly? What isn't it? And how can we avoid it by moving forward in our discovery of finding healthy relationships? Before we get into this video, though, I'd like to ask you, if you find value in this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, as your support is greatly appreciated, because making these videos is all I do, and writing valuable content that you can apply to your life in your own self-help journey is what I do every single day. So please consider supporting me by making this channel grow, or going to my sister site and downloading free content or membership subscriptions on my Ko-Fi channel. I will post a link in the description of this video. Now, trauma bonding is the oversharing of valuable and sensitive personal stories that leave the listener without the option to say, no, I don't want to listen. Trauma dumping may help you or help someone else feel relieved, heard, valued, but for the listener, it can have the reverse effect. Oftentimes, the listener might not even get a heads up, a warning, if you will, to the direction of the conversation, and they find themselves listening to something that makes them feel extremely uncomfortable and they never saw coming. It blindsides them. And this can leave the listener feeling depressed, as they may be unable to assimilate their personal feelings. And they may have judgments against the topics that you just decide to share with them, but they can't vent it because you're too up close and personal. They may be triggered in a negative way, and they may even feel taken advantage of, as oftentimes trauma dumping is always a one-sided conversation. Trauma dumping is often mistaken as seeking emotional support or venting. There is a difference, and please don't let this video stop you from sharing your story with those whom you trust, because undersharing is just as harmful as oversharing. Staying silent when you need to speak out to let other people help you, well, this is harmful to you and to the relationships that you form. So how do you know when you are oversharing yourself with someone? How do you know when you are directly engaged in trauma dumping? Well, here are some questions that you might want to ask yourself. Do you share in the same stories repeatedly with other people? Are you sharing the same details within these stories with no conflict resolution? Do you interject your trauma to the topic of conversations that are casual and have nothing to do with your personal trauma and pain? Do you share your stories with people whom trust has not yet been established? Do you share information TMI? If you notice that you or someone you know can answer yes to these questions, understand that it is normal to engage in trauma dumping, as this is a side effect or symptom that a trauma has occurred. This is a natural trauma response, as it is a coping mechanism to your trauma. And my friend, it might be time for you to consider to look into other symptoms of your trauma, such as PTSD, also known as post-traumatic stress disorder. Talking about your trauma is necessary. However, it is important for you to understand that there needs to be a healthy boundary. These healthy boundaries protect you and the other people that you're sharing your stories with from further emotional injury. Oftentimes, those of us who share our stories in hopes to bond with people, we find that our personalities might be compatible or agreeable, if you will. But then we find out too late that the people we trusted with our innermost secrets and details are in fact untrustworthy. That might be the narcissist, as the narcissist uses our stories against us as they find opportune times to emotionally blackmail us against our own emotions so that we comply to the narcissist's emotional needs. In other words, the narcissist uses our stories against us in a way that is emotionally dysregulating or leaves us emotionally vulnerable, so that they can collect a negative emotional fuel supply from us that only serves to help strengthen them, so that the narcissist can continue to function in their day-to-day life as the imposters that they are. So aside from sharing with narcissists, we sometimes don't realize that our story might be similar to someone else's, and we might have a triggering effect on someone who isn't yet ready to hear the truth that we have to share. So before you share your story, get to know the individual firstly, to establish trust and respect. It's important to form those conversational boundaries. And how you do that is to just ask. Ask if it's okay for you to share something that is important to you, but it might be a sensitive topic for them. Now, before you open yourself up by sharing your trauma with someone, just ask yourself, why is it that you want to share with them? Will it give them a chance to open up to you also? Are they comfortable with topics such as the ones that you want to share? Perhaps. How well do you know this person whom you want to share with? That's key. How will sharing your trauma positively or negatively affect you both? Will you give them the option to back out of the conversation? If they decline your invitation to have that delicate conversation, are you willing to not take it personal? Finding someone to talk with, well, that's not easy. And when you find someone who listens, oh, this can be a breath of fresh air. Talking to someone who is willing to listen, this is what reaffirms our hope. Talking out our trauma is not a bad thing. I'm personally all for it. As you know in my videos, I share with you my trauma. But I encourage talking in a way to release your pain, not to hold on to it. because trauma dumping doesn't release you of your pain. It keeps you bound in this proverbial loop feed that just causes you to regress and digress and digest more negativity. Just make sure you're talking to the right people the right way. That's my concern. Yeah? So in closing, I just want to say, just go easy on yourself, because opening up to people, well, that's far from easy. This is a monumental feat in bravery right there, and I want to commend you on your bravery. So if you have trauma dumped on someone before, just know that it's okay. We've all done it, because it is what we do coming out of narcissistic relationships. Sharing too much information, well, that's just what we do until we stop identifying with our pain. So until next time, here's to you on your healing journey. Fist bump. Yeah. Keep your boundaries clear. Now that you know, you can go make this day